Hey, everybody, it is Tim Gillette, and this is the Tim Gillette Show, the one podcast on the internet where you get to meet and connect with the coolest people on the planet, all right, in a way that you probably normally wouldn't, because let's face it, I'm not going to ask the same questions that most everybody asks them. Probably because I don't even know what the questions are until I get on air with them. That's the coolest thing about this show. Today's guest is someone who decided to travel from the other side of the world. Yes, this is my world, all right? To them, they're the other side of the world. But to me, I'm sure I'm the other side of the world to them. You get the concept, all right? Anyway, today's guest, Kathy, all right, I know very little about her. But I do know that by checking out a little bit about her, that she's one of the coolest people on the planet. And you are going to have fun getting to know her just like me. So let me bring her up here today and see. Kathy, are you awake?
Hi. I'm here. I'm awake. How you doing?
What time in the morning is it over there?
It is 6 a.m., which is probably a fairly normal get-up time, but I'm not really a normal sort of person. So I usually go to sleep around. If you were normal, you
wouldn't be on my show.
Right. I'm usually just going to sleep about 2, 3, or 4 in the morning. So, yeah, it is early, but it's all good. I love doing this, so I'm super happy anytime.
Yeah, and how many worldwide podcasts have you been on? Because I've heard like you've been around the world on talking to people in podcasts.
Yeah, well, you're probably around I'm going to guess 16th, 18th, something like that. We're close to 20 now.
And I believe you yourself actually got an international team to run your podcast, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Our podcast is now heard in 50 countries. And we've got a 5-man team around the world which help us do some of the back end stuff. So we're steadily growing and really, really loving it. Yeah.
I have a new goal to be in 50 countries. I'm just on 25 different sites online. I'm on 50 countries.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
So it's phenomenal. Like, I was just looking at my stats. I have 2 podcasts, Kathy, and I was looking at my stats just the other day. And like 90% of my clients are in the United States, or my listeners, my podcast listeners are in the United States. The other, there's like 6% are in, it was some weird country. I want to say it's like Italy or Ireland or something. And I'm like, who's listening to me in Ireland?
It's fascinating, isn't it? It's fascinating. We go through the countries and we're like, ooh, where's that? Let's look it up. And I actually have this map on the wall behind me that I'm going to spot. Mm-hmm. I just haven't done it yet, but that's why it's up there, so I can spot all our countries. And I really need to do that.
Wait a minute. Do you sit there in the morning with your coffee and go, let me just throw a dot? Dart hits up. New Zealand. Yep, let's go to that country today.
We've been in New Zealand for months, so probably because I used to live there, and have many friends and family there. Bless them. But we're in some funny countries that I actually had to look up because I had never heard of them before. So super interesting how we got there, and super exciting that we're growing little fan bases all over the world, because what we do like to talk about, we think crosses cultural barriers. So, yeah, they're proving us right.
Yeah. So, you have, looking at your message, looking at where you've been through, you've crossed some barriers quite a bit. First of all, I was always known as the guy with long hair, all right? And I'm interviewing a long-haired guy interviewing a bald woman.
Yeah.
Okay, so I know there's a backstory, so please share a little bit with my audience.
Yeah, so when I was quite young, about 8, I had a sister who died from leukemia. And the shock of that on my little brain, and I wasn't really taught how to deal with emotion. I feel like I probably internalized it a bit. And a year later, my hair actually started falling out in patches. And it was quite scary. No one had ever heard of it. This was 40 years ago. We ended up going away to see doctors to get a diagnosis, but they still were guessing about what it was. And we found out now that it's genetic and it's some autoimmune disorder, like a lot of other major illnesses is. And So I've had that since I was a little girl, and I actually grew up hiding it, because that's what you did back then. You fit in, you went with social norms, so you weren't sort of sticking out, and everyone accepted you, and you did what you were told. And that's kind of how it was when I grew up. And so I spent 30 years wearing wigs and hiding the fact that I was getting worse and worse bald over time. And although I had a few years off and on where I had hair, it would keep reoccurring and keep coming back. Until my late 30s, it pretty much was all gone except this little front patch, and I would shave that to wear these wigs. And then I met someone quite instrumental in my life when I was around 40 who taught me that I should stop caring what other people think. And I realized I was putting my happiness in other people's hands by doing that. And so that's when I started being brave enough to just be bald. Yeah. And then a few years later I tattooed my head. So as my crowning glory. I'm like, well, they're staring at me anyway. Let's put an artwork on there that is meaningful to me, and then I will feel beautiful. And it worked. I feel amazing with my tattoos. Yeah. So yeah.
So I mean, I'm always in for the shock value of things. If that was my case, all right. And I got to tell you this: I've always had long hair most of my life. And I went through in 2003 or 4, I lost my best friend and my grandfather in the same year. And I went to this life enrichment seminar, and they had this like exercise the last day of the seminar that you basically got to come in and dress up in a costume and do a skit and sing to a song or whatever. I don't know all the details, but I do know they gave you the costume you had to be. And mine was Kojak. Now, I had long hair. And they're going, okay, we want you to be Kojak. So I showed them I was all in. I bought this really long-looking rocker wig.
Oh, yeah.
And shaved my head.
Awesome. I love it.
And I go into this thing, all right, the whole day, everybody's like, oh, my gosh. Like, Tim, Kojak was bald. I'm like, no, he's the guy who invented Rogaine the whole day, right? And then our skit was the last one of the day. So my head's itching underneath this thing the whole day, trying not to let everybody know I cut my hair off, right? And at the end of the day, I do the whole thing and pull the wig off, and everybody's like, oh! I did it a year ago as well. A year ago, I cut my hair short. I mean, I had looked like Tom Petty for years, long, stringy, long to my shoulders hair.
I was wondering who you reminded me of, and that's who it is. It's Tom Petty.
I actually had the domain name. You'll love it. I mean, this is again, I go for the bizarre. All right. Someone said it started at LAX airport in Los Angeles, where a guy, when Tom was still alive, a guy goes, "You're Tom Petty," and I'm like, "No, I'm not." Right, and he didn't believe me, so I just signed an autograph, not Tom Petty, not Tom Petty, or something I wrote. And my coaching coach said, "Tim, have you looked to see if nottompetty.com is available?" And it was. So I bought it, and I rode the wave, baby. It's like, that's it, Bizarre's there. Ride it, baby. Ride the wave and enjoy it, It's
Absolutely.
like, do you surf?
No.
No, I don't surf either, but I heard once you get a good wave in a surf, you don't want it to end. You just go. Keep going, baby.
I think seeing me surfing will probably be the most hilarious experience of someone's life, because I have absolutely no balance.
Okay. You know what I mean? We look at sports we do. I mean, do you do any weird or bizarre sports or any sports whatsoever?
Well, I used to do Muay Thai kickboxing
for
a while in my 30s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really loved it. But I really didn't like getting hit. So I stopped.
Funny how that little thing there. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The training was amazing. I loved the training. I love the sport. I love watching it. I just don't want to get my head smashed in. Yeah. So that's probably the most interesting sport I've ever done. In school, I played hockey for years and years. Oh. So, yeah, that's the other one, which is a funny game if you think about a hockey stick.
Yeah, it's, my brothers and I played, street hockey. And I was really good at playing street hockey. I was a great goalie. Nothing was getting past me when I played goalie. But I grew up in the Northeast of the United States in the Pocono Mountains, where the backside of the mountain where my parents' house was a ski slope. I could walk over the backside of the mountain and get to the ski slope faster than I could drive around the mountain to get to it. I've never been on snow skis in my life.
Oh,
Never.
wow. True.
Never. And the same thing, like I was scared of falling and breaking a leg.
Yeah.
And
I nearly fell off the mountain.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it funny how a fear like that drove me my whole life? I'm not getting on skis, even though everybody around me was skiing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely understand the fear, because that's what made me wear wigs for 30 years is fear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I now try and encourage everybody I talk to, speak to face whatever fear it is that they've got going on. Because I kind of feel like fear is a little signpost pointing us at something that we should actually do.
Yeah.
Not all the time, you know. I have a fear of cockroaches, and I'm quite happy leaving that there. But fear in normal days, stopping you from living to your fullest, that's a fear that needs to be embraced and made friends with, in my opinion. Because I've never been as happy as I have since I tattooed my head. And I wish that I'd had somebody like me when I was young, so that I wouldn't have lived in hiding basically for 30 years.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So that's why I do what I do, because I want to be that something to the other men and women in the world and the kids. I changed a little girl's life by going to her school and speaking at her assembly and making her realize that she was not alone and that she was not weird or abnormal. She was just unique and beautiful in her own right. And I know I changed her life that day, and there is nothing better than doing that. Nothing. Yeah. So
yeah, cool. It's something about taking your weirdness that we have, all right, and changing a child's life with it. That will never, ever, ever, take that away from you. You'll cement that in your brain forever. And I remember the first time I did like a school gig, and the little girl came up who was a Tom Petty fan, and she goes, "You're Tom Petty." And I'm like, "I'm not, honey." And I mean, and you're looking at these little freaking gorgeous eyes trying to say, "I'm not, honey. I realize he's your hero, but I'm not him."
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah. But I mean, I look at life, and I look at how often we embrace the strange, all right, as opposed to sometimes, so we spend so long avoiding it, but then we finally embrace it, and it's like a rocket taking off. In the days that you were trying to hide it, did you feel like it was an uphill battle the whole time?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was kept secret.
Mm-hmm.
I chose that. Nobody knew except maybe 5 people, my very good friends. Obviously, my family knew. My son knew, but none of his friends. And in fact, there was an incident one day. He was probably around 10 or so, and his friend actually saw me without the wig, and I actually asked his friend not to say anything at school. One, because I didn't want me being the weirdo with the weird hair to rub off and have my son be like bullied in any way because of it. But 2, because it was kept so secret. And that was the secrecy was actually one of the hardest parts about it. I just didn't think people would see me the same. I grew up believing I was a freak. I truly did, because I got experimented on by doctors. There was nobody in my whole town where I grew up who had alopecia. And so I was looked at and sort of treated like a freak by my peers and by some adults. And then by the doctors experimenting and doing crazy shit without really explaining it to my mum either. So I did grow up with this very warped sense of being a weirdo or a freak. And so that's what led me to keep it secret. But the secret was a huge burden, because I stopped myself participating in lots of things I would have wanted to do, including water sports. There's a reason I never surfed. I didn't go near the water because the wig would come off and I'd be revealed. Anything in a hard wind, didn't do that either. Romantic relationships were tough because, the first thing a man does when he kisses you is put his hand in your hair. right? So a lot of things just weren't, I guess, open to me because I was choosing to keep the secret. And then the secret started becoming a really big burden. And after 30 years, it was a giant weight on me. And I was mentally quite damaged. I was very emotionally shut down. Relationships kept failing. The ones I did have, there were very few of them because of that. And I was in rather a mess, I have to admit. By the time I hit 40, I needed head shrinking.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I mean, I have a gay stepson, and it's almost like, the secret they keep, many gays keep for years is they're gay because they were cast down. It's like our society really is accepting of it now. All right. But, 20 years ago, they weren't. And it was a secret life for them. And it's very similar. It was probably very similar to the feelings you had as a gay person who couldn't come out.
Yeah, it is very, very similar. And I have quite a lot of friends who are gay and even some who are trans. And I've talked to them about that. And I call it my wig closet for that reason. I came out of my wig closet because I do feel like it's a very similar experience where you're hiding something really important about you that, once I did start telling people, I didn't get the reactions I feared. I actually got a lot of support and I was embraced, and people say, oh, you're so brave with your bald head. But I tell you what, the brave thing really is living without fear, whatever it is, whether it's hair. It doesn't actually matter what the thing is because the whole thing is getting through the fear. And everybody has a fear about themselves. Everybody has a self-doubt or a thing about themselves that they need to just embrace in order to be their best version of themselves. That's what I believe.
Now, how are you using this and using your past and the struggles you went through to now help clients?
So I'm actually offline. I'm a management accountant and look after small businesses and do some coaching. So that's kind of pays my bills. But my real passion is the podcast that I'm producing, which is around mindset evolution. So it's teaching people how to think a little bit differently to have happier lives. And also about the books I'm producing. So I've got 3 books coming out this year I'm super excited about, and I'm hoping that they will be able to spread, my story throughout the world in order to inspire and encourage other people with alopecia or without alopecia to start living without fear because, I've walked it and it's a tough one to overcome. So they're the primary things that I do and get on as many podcasts as I can because I love podcasting. I think it's one of the best mediums that's ever been invented. It's like radio on demand, right?
Yeah,
it's
really.
Great.
Yeah, I've been podcasting in one form or another, either podcasting or live streaming for about 9 years now.
Well, that makes you one of the veterans, I think, of podcasting because, it hasn't really been around that long, has it?
Yeah. I actually, one of my friends, he's been a close friend of mine here in the Dallas area. He's been podcasting since 2005, I think. And he did it as one of his businesses is a sports store, sports bats and baseball bats, things like that. And he did it as a way to, help people find his store, and he's now he's in the podcasting Hall of Fame and everything. Him and his wife do podcasts about HGTV shows because she has a whole business in wallpaper. It's like, most people never thought about, oh yeah, start a podcast. It'll help accent your business, but he did. He thought about it in 2005. So yeah.
Yeah.
2005, I was just figuring out how to write a blog. So yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to really think hard about what I was doing 16 years ago. Being single mothering for sure.
2005, I was working, part-time and trying to figure my life out again and rebuilding my whole life after selling a company. But yeah, it's interesting how, 15, 16 years ago, what life was like and what it is now. And now it's like, even this morning, I'm in my mastermind explaining this concept to someone. I do a live stream show and then I re-record it and I make it a podcast and I make it a blog and I make it. It's like everybody's like, what? And they're going, how do I get people to show up for my live streams? I'm like, number one, don't just do a live stream. Do everything.
Yeah.
Reach out to the world, not just to the 5 people you know. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
So, you said you live in Australia now, but your podcast goes to 50 countries. Are you working with people, you know what I mean, with this ministry and this mission, books from around the world, or are you working just people locally?
So my podcast partner is from America, who lives in America, and we haven't met in person yet. I found her in Facebook in a podcasting group. And then she's in charge of editing and engineering the sound. So she has a couple of sound engineers, one in Tunisia, and one in, I'm going to say, Syria, I think the other one is. Okay. Then we have an Instagram expert who lives in Rio de Janeiro. And then we have a couple more team members here in Australia that are closer to me, who does transcripts, and then another one who helps with funnels. And then I build and maintain the websites. So, yeah, we do have a bit of a varied team, and we don't actually do guests. It's just Daisy and I on our podcast. So it kind of probably makes it a lot easier to produce than a lot of other podcasts, because there's not all the work around guesting, which I know is quite a lot because I did it before I had a podcast with a Facebook show I had. So that's probably really great. But I talk with people around the world all day, primarily on Facebook, and a lot of them are coaches and entrepreneurs. And a fair few of them also have alopecia. So I hang out in different types of groups. So I've got some alopecia groups, I've got some podcasting groups, I've got some coaching and entrepreneurial groups. And that's kind of when I do spend time online, what I do. Although I'm a recent fan of Clubhouse too, I'm just having some technical issues about getting back on there.
Oh. My brother from New Zealand just texted me and said, very cool. We're in New Zealand. Now I got to tell him where you're from. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I was born in Dunedin, which is halfway down the South Island.
I'll talk to him later. I got to focus on one thing at a time.
You can tell him I was born in Dunedin.
I'm a man. All right. We focus on one thing at a time. In case you haven't heard that about us men.
Down here. I thought he might have been watching the live stream.
I don't know if he is watching the live stream or not. You know what I mean? Their technology that they don't have as much technology in their house. They have 3 young kids, and I think he's working on a farm now. It's funny because he's the reason I moved to Dallas, Texas, and he doesn't live here anymore. He lives in New Zealand, but he met his wife in Singapore, and they actually moved down there to New Zealand. There's 2 different things they were doing down there, but now I think he mainly works on a farm and just enjoying raising his kids with his wife. So anyway, it
is a great place to raise kids, I have to say. Yeah. But
and it's just weird. Of all of my brothers, he's the last one I thought was going to be like in some foreign small country.
Where are you actually from then, Tim?
Originally, our family, all Pocono Mountains of Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay, cool. Yeah, I've heard of the mountain range. I just wasn't sure what state it was in.
Our family, actually, my mom has told me this story. Her family, our family roots, actually is the founders of what is known of the Poconos in Pennsylvania. All right, we're like you go back in our roots. It's our family who founded the Poconos. So
cool.
And I didn't learn that until I was in my 40s. I had no clue. Didn't matter to me. I still left. I wanted to move to Texas.
Well, funny story. Our family, we've traced back to 9 generations. We founded Dunedin as well in New Zealand. There were tall ships, and our family's from like 8. That the first 8 or something tall ships 8 generations ago. So that was really interesting to find that out. Yeah.
So, I mean, and I have gotten to the point now where I'm now interviewing people from around the world. Now I interviewed another lady from Australia a couple weeks ago. Last week on Friday, I interviewed a gentleman who was from Russia but lives in Canada.
Cool.
It's like, I mean, it's like I have an American podcast, but now I'm interviewing people from around the world. I have interviewed a girl from Ireland, and I have interviewed a gentleman from Italy. So it's like, it's weird,
Well, I would probably suggest that the more people from different countries you interview, the more countries your podcast is going to hit.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, as you were developing your idea to do the podcast, what gave you the ideas to actually create it what it is? All right. And is this the what you started as, or how many generations have you changed the podcast to be where it's at now?
Okay, good question, because it has stayed true to my initial vision, which is really cool. And the vision I had was mindset evolution, because I knew how important mindset was to people, and not just people with alopecia, because I wanted to speak to a wider audience about this whole living your best life and being your best version. And I know that fear is a breakthrough concept in that, but I didn't want to do it alone. I didn't think I would get the audience on my own. So there's my self-doubt sort of creeping in. And I wanted this partner. And so I just sort of set my mind to it and decided I'm going to find her and I'm going to manifest her, or them. Didn't know it was going to be her, and they will be the perfect partner. And that is how it happened. And we have stayed true to our theme. And we sort of started out doing a few practice runs on YouTube. And after we got our vibe right between us, it sort of just happened that I would pick the topics, not tell her what they're going to be, and we'd just start talking about them. And it's worked really, really well. We have really genuine conversations every time about a topic that I pick that I feel represents what the audience needs to know, because I've been through it in my life in some form or another, mostly. So yeah, we've recorded, I think we're up to 48 now.
48,
so,
wow, yeah.
Yeah, 40 I think is released, or 41 might have been released yesterday. So yeah, we're getting there. We're at 9-10 months now, so we're about to hit our year mark. So the 50 countries is super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you're growing fast. I remember my first podcast, 2012, and I remember like the first episode I ever did had, I think, 6 people listen to it. Like, yay, 6 people! I remember, and I remember the first time I hit 1,000 listeners in one episode. I was like, oh wow! And now it's a whole different thing, because now it's, by the time it goes through all the subjects of how many people listen to it on different things. Now it's not like one thing. All right. Yeah. And you're like, oh, wow. But we can all get excited about what it's done and what we did with it. Where do you see it going? All right. Where do you see, what do you see the next steps being with this podcast? Or what goals do you take and make this into a company?
So we have created programs that sit behind the podcast that actually help people and revenue streams for us. So it has become a business already. And we don't sell them on our podcast, but we actually engage partner businesses to sell to their audiences and client lists. So whether they're podcasters or they're in, say, the health arena, like we've got masseuses and personal trainers and coaches out there who are partners for our programs. So they're meditation programs that help people change their subconscious thinking, and therefore their physical form changes naturally because of their subconscious changing. It's all based on neuroscience, and they're really, really cool. They're called empowering audio programs, and they're on our website. So we've made that our revenue stream to fund us so that we can do this and keep doing it. The vision for the podcast itself is to keep doing what we're doing and spread to more people. So, you know yourself as a long-time podcaster that some of the secondary countries that you get into, and a lot of our 50 countries have very small percentage of our total listeners, but people in 5 countries in Africa have a handful of people in each country. So our goal is to expand that listener base in each individual country so that we can actually be helping the whole world. So that's our goal, to become a household name.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so many people, when they start, they don't have that long-term goals, and they wait, years to put that into place, and when I started, I didn't. I had no clue where I was going to be going with this. I started with a blog, and then I went to a podcast, and no clue. It wasn't until I was, I think, 7 years in that I had a straight foundation. Okay, this is what we're doing finally. Okay, after 11 years, the last 4 years have been so easy, but the first 7 were like, okay, wake up in the morning, and go, okay, are we going right or left today? Which was it? Which way did we go yesterday? We were clueless. Trying to figure out what we were doing with it, but having that direction, and you're a year in, and you've got direction about it already.
It helps that I'm an accountant and business focused.
Yeah.
So I have that background in business that automatically switches on. But there is something to be said for winging it.
Yeah.
Like I'm a big fan of winging things and being flexible with what life throws at you. Yeah. So even though we have all these plans in place, we're still very aware that opportunities might pop up and change our direction. And so we're always open to something like that. And I think being able to walk that line is a really smart thing. But yeah, I think planning and knowing your direction and knowing what it is you want to do, what it is, how you're going to fund that, and what impact you want to make. They're really important things. Yes. So if you're an entrepreneur out there, they're the things you need to be thinking about. Mm-hmm. Don't wing your business. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just stay flexible.
Well, now let me get this straight. Now, I've had tons of businesses over the years, and the accountant. I'm not an accountant, but my math mind, I don't lose money. I will tell you that I don't lose money.
That's good.
Only one time did I have a business venture that lost money, and I think I got rid of it real quick because it was losing money. I was like, "This not staying in this one. Bye." But no, it's there's certain things about it, but it's the direction. How are we going to help people? That being said, all right. In the last couple of years of doing this, have you had some rough times that you want to share?
Yes. Oh, so many, honestly, because it's taken me 4 years to figure out how I'm going to help people. Mm-hmm. I've tried all sorts of things before the podcast and the book's been going for a couple of years and it's nearly finished. So I kind of always knew I wanted to do that. But before the podcast, I've tried lots of different things to try and get my voice out into the world. And I hit lots of challenges that were really super frustrating. And I've been in tears at times, so frustrated about why, this thing I'm trying isn't working. I've built courses, I've done, YouTube shows, and I've got Facebook groups, and I've tried like a zillion different things. And it has been super frustrating until I found the podcast not really. One, I was not properly clear on what it is I was going to do for people, and 2, I wasn't really clear on how I was going to make money doing it so I could keep doing it. And so that confusion, I think, sort of shines through in your stuff. And even though people loved me and loved what I had to say, they were super confused about the next sort of thing because I had too much stuff going on. So yeah, I've had some real challenges. Mm-hmm. And it has only been my absolute driven purpose to make sure other people don't have the pain that I had for 30 years that has kept me going, right? That really, really drives me because I look back and I'm just shocked at how long I did that to myself. And, let me a tiny bit of detail so you can imagine what it was like. I wore wigs that were made of human hair. They were silicone-based, so they were molded to my scalp, designed to stick to it. And I lived in a town that was 40 degrees Celsius most of the year. Now, 40 degrees Celsius is pretty much hot enough to fry an egg on the bonnet of your car if it's been out in the sun all day. I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but it's damn hot.
Yeah.
And it was like torture. I was torturing myself. and it all stemmed from this mistaken self-belief that I was a freak and didn't deserve any better, from childhood. So, what you tell your children really, really matters. The way you speak to them really, really matters. The way you have them speak to themselves really, really matters.
Yeah.
I can't say this enough, parents. Do not put a wig on your kid with alopecia and send them to school. Don't do it. It'll be the worst thing you can do for them. The best thing that you can do is teach them self-acceptance and show them, teach them they're not their hair.
Yeah.
None of us are our hair. And it's just a social norm that needs to be broken. So that's my mission.
Yeah.
Smashing social norms.
It's good, but it translates though, Kathy, it translates outside of just that. I mean, I grew up in a society. The towns and stuff I grew up in was a town full of farmers, and we were all united through the church we went to, and the church was trying to teach you that you basically needed to go to Bible school and become a minister. Like, you're trying to teach a bunch of farmers' kids that they need to become ministers. These farmers' kids, the only thing they know is teach me the basics and let me get back to the farm to go to work. That's what they knew. And it can relate because of the fact that we were trying to be taught something we weren't. We were trying to be told to be something we weren't. And it relates. And a lot of us who grew up in the 70s, that was the area where we were all being taught to be something we weren't. And it just, it doesn't fit, and you get it. I mean, and you got a relatable story about, listen, look, I can tell you what doesn't fit,
Yeah.
But I mean, I love that. So let me ask you this. What is one great story you can share where you were able to get a breakthrough in someone's life with your story and your message?
So there's actually a New Zealand chick who had alopecia and bulimia and was struggling a lot with it and with exposing herself to people because of the fear of what people would say. And New Zealand's a pretty conservative little country, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I can tell you that they were fairly shocked by me. And she actually, after talking to her for a while, she actually tattooed her head as well. And she said it was the best experience that she'd ever done, and she'd wished she'd done it sooner. So, it may seem like a small thing, but for her it was life-changing. Mm-hmm. Because when you're scared to show your true external self, you kind of cringe inside at any sort of, this might do it, that might do it. And when you're wearing something like a wig, a brisk wind, like I said, can do it. And it is you kind of live on edge all the time, right? So I think I've inspired quite a few head tattoos, to be quite honest, over the few years I've been doing this and around the world. Like, I'm in some big groups with women with alopecia, and there's been at least, I reckon there've been at least 50 I've seen that have gone and tattooed their head. I'm not saying all 50 are because of me, but I'm being told a few of them were inspired by, because my tattoo is quite large, right? It kind of covers the whole side of my head and down my neck a little bit. And then I tattooed the tribal version of it on the other side, and there's more to come. It's very exciting. But I think that is such a powerful way for us to take our power back against what society says we should look like, because tattoos are body art and very meaningful to the person who's having them done. They're very symbolic of a path you've walked, a lesson you've learned, something that you truly love. And so they're quite unique that way. And they have also, over the last 15 or dozen years, become much more acceptable as well. And so taking your power back from baldness by tattooing your head is a really magnificent move. And I would encourage anybody out there, forget the tattooing, just shave your head. my best friend shaved her head for awareness 4 years ago when I started, and she said it transformed her life. She said it was incredible, and she doesn't have alopecia. It started growing back straight away, but she said the journey she went through, the fear, and then out the other side, and people's reactions, and how it changed her, the way she felt about herself, she said was absolutely life-changing. So I encourage everybody to do that at least once.
So, I mean, I had in 2009, before I started this current business I had a motorcycle friend, husband and wife, and the wife got breast cancer, and she was losing her hair because of the what is it, the medicine they've got to go on. And I actually went to her. Her name is Lana, and I said, Lana, I sat down with her and her husband at their house, and I said, Lana, I'm willing to shave my head and donate the hair, all right, to support you. And I said to her husband, Mark, I said, I'm willing to do this for you guys because I love you both, right? And they sat there and spent an hour talking me out of it because they did not want. I mean, I had long, like no. But I have shaved my head, and I've done it twice, as a matter of fact. And the first time I did it for the thing, and the second year I did it because it was the company I worked for had like a Halloween contest. And I went as somebody that was known bald at the time. And I basically went as and won the contest. But anyway, it is. It's something about seeing and supporting those people who actually do it, to actually go through with it. I just got my hair cut off last year and last May for my event. After 14 years of having long hair down past my shoulders, I cut it off. And I went live virtually because we didn't have a live event. We had virtual because of COVID. And I went live for the first time on camera with no hair. And you could see the comments in the comment section, your hair. Because everybody who knew me that was in my realm had never seen me with short hair. They'd only seen me.
Do you feel naked, Tim?
I didn't feel naked. No, to me, it was something I wanted to try. And I spent 6 months talking to my coach about doing it for my marketing because I didn't want to be known as a gimmick speaker and a gimmick person anymore. I wanted to be known with a mission. And I wanted you to follow me because I can help you get somewhere, not because I look cool.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And for me, that was it wasn't shave the head, all right, or put the tattoo like you did. But for me, it was, I need to be able to stand out as me no matter what me looks like.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And it was a great thing, Kathy. And I'm just, seeing you go through that with the tattoos, you know what I mean? It was really, it's uplifting to see that some of us, our challenges are all different, but some of us, the root of the challenge problem is almost the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. That's why we think our podcast crosses cultural barriers, right?
Yes.
Because
at
the core of it, we're all human beings.
Yes.
Facing very similar stuff in different paths. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things that a friend of mine did that to get past some of her things was she did a video series. She said she was going to get naked. The difference is like these cameras, like you can put the camera up close, like from here up, it looked like she had no clothes on. She had a tube top on. All right. And she had pants on, right? But the tube top, but it looked like she had and she did her whole podcast and video series that you could only see from here to here. And she did it it's like, sometimes you need to get naked. And that's exactly it. Sometimes we need to do things to actually get ourselves out of our own box.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll be surprised how much support you get. And if you're not getting support, you're probably hanging around with the wrong people.
Yeah, exactly. The wrong people, dude. Change. The best way to change your world, all right, if you're in a negative world, is change the negative people around you for positive ones, man.
100%. 100%.
Well, Kathy, it's been fun having you on the show today. I want to make sure people can reach out to you, connect with you. What is the best website they can find you on?
That's easy. Baldwarrior.net. Bald as in bald head. Warrior as in bringit.net. Easy. And from there, you can find the podcast website and me on Facebook. It's all on that one place.
Yeah. Cool. I love that. I love it. It's what we teach in Simple Easy Marketing. Make everybody go to one spot.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Well, this has been a fun thing, very informative. I actually learned more today than I thought I was. I thought I was going to have a lot more fun, but I had a lot more education today than I thought I was going to have. So,
glad to hear that, Tim.
Yeah. But before we go, Kathy, though, I have a little way I like to close my podcast out with a 9-question this or that game.
All right.
Are you ready to play?
I'm ready to play.
Cool. 9 questions. I'm going to give you 2 choices. You pick one. All right. Maybe we'll talk about it. Maybe we won't. Let's see.
Okay.
Number 1, I ask people, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Ooh, Star Wars.
Star Wars. I figured you were a Star Wars girl. I don't know why. I just did.
Yeah, Star Wars. I love them, and the second 3 or the first 3 with all the special effects. Yeah. Jar Jar Binks, he's gold.
Yeah.
Oh, he's just gold.
Yeah.
Love it.
I'm a big on the first version of it. All right. But I love the combination of putting the second one, but I love some of the new ones that are coming out. Truthfully, I do. It's just phenomenal. So,
well, I grew up to the first lot as well. We're probably very similar in age, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I'm guessing we're about that same age. We're 25 people. All right.
Yeah. We're 25.
Forever.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? I noticed you said you had to shave spots on your head from time to time. So what's your favorite razor, Gillette or Schick?
Well, I don't know. I think if they want me to say Gillette, they should sponsor my podcast. Gillette. Yes, it's Gillette. 3 blades.
I got to tell you, though, all right, we've got the trademark Simple Easy Marketing. I learned the hard way that the name Gillette is trademarked. Really? I tried to get a show to call it the Gillette Show, all right, and I bought a domain name and everything, and I got shut down. It's like, my last name's Gillette. Doesn't matter. That name is trademarked.
Trademarked.
Like, hey, but it's my last name. Like, yeah, I can say Tim Gillette everywhere. I can't advertise as Gillette. Nope.
Right. Well, they're probably your perfect sponsor, actually, aren't they?
They would be, but they're not talking to me anymore now.
Oh, right. Well, fuck them.
I guess I'm not that sharp to them.
Nice one.
All right. So let's move on. All right. Are you a dress up kind of girl, or are you a yoga pants and t-shirts or sweatshirts?
I'm definitely a sweatshirts kind of girl. Yeah. I'm actually sitting here, I'm going to tell you, in pajamas. Yes! And I work from home, so I can be anytime I want.
I have done, in COVID, I have done more speeches, podcasts, shows. All right. That nice shirt, but pajama bottoms on.
Pajama bottoms? I'm going to say, look. Pajama bottoms.
My favorite thing about COVID, all right, and some days, like as soon as I'm done broadcasting, like I'm done being on podcast or something like that, I go down and I put like a cheesy old t-shirt on, all right, and walk around and, you know.
Yeah, that's women's version of that is the bra coming off.
Yeah,
fling the bra across the room, and when it used to have wigs, the wig came off, the bra came out, you know, be like all you needed was some teeth to pull out, some glasses to take off, you'd be transformed.
Yeah.
A bit like
Superman. If I didn't have open windows that my neighbors could see, trust me, there are days that I just would not get dressed.
Yeah.
Just saying, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
totally.
Let's move on. This here is probably American food, but I'm sure you can relate to one of these two. All right. Taco or hamburger?
Ooh. That's a toughie. I'm going to go with burger because I probably eat them more, but I'm going to say chicken burger.
Okay.
With bacon. Don't really do the hamburger burger part.
I was supposed to, I just came from lunch with one of my clients and we had to go to a pizza place. We were scheduled to go to this hamburger joint that basically has different kinds of meat hamburger, like bison burger, lamb burger. And we get there and the place is closed. And I'm like, what? So we found a pizza place to have, but I love hamburgers. I always as a kid have loved hamburgers. So yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, well, they're a funny thing because there's no ham in them at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting how they got named. But we don't have all those different meats so much over here. We certainly don't have bison. You can't get bison meat in Australia.
I'm going to tell you here. I'm a Texan, so like I have all kinds of barbecue I do. One of the things that I look for is to make my chili is deer meat, which is called venison.
Yes.
Venison chili, because it's a very lean meat. All right. It makes a damn good chili. I'm just saying.
Well, you can get venison here. We've also got kangaroo, which is also a very lean meat, and you would probably love to make chili with. However,
I probably would love it. I probably would. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I move on. How about this one? Beer or wine?
Oh, definitely wine. I've never liked beer, ever. Ever. I've drunk it maybe a couple times when I was very young, trying to be a toughie. But no, red wine, that's my jam.
Yeah. No. How about right now in our world where we can listen to audio or read a book? Would you rather listen to a podcast or an audio, or would you rather read a book?
Okay, I'm going to be shocked here. I'd rather read a book. Because I'm a visual person. Right, yeah. I'm very much a reader.
I got two of them here that I'm reading.
I like the visuality of reading, and I like the YouTube video component of an audio. I do struggle with audio only to pay attention. And that's just, I think, because we all have different ways of learning, and mine is very visual.
Yeah, cool. So this next question kind of relates to an earlier question, but I'm going to ask it because I'm a Texan, all right? And we have this one thing we really like out of these two. Boots or heels?
Boots or heels? You're going to have to go into that a bit more, because over here our boots have heels.
Well, my boots have heels because I wear these country western boots. But anyway, some girls wear high heel shoes, and some girls are like, "Nah, I'll take me some Texas boots or some Tennessee down south boots."
Okay, yeah, I'm a boots girl. Yeah.
But I understand that down there in Australia, some women wear work boots.
Oh like, I've got a pair of steel cap work boots too. They're purple.
Yeah,
I wear when I garden.
Yeah. I wear work boots almost everywhere except for like dress up. I have like 10 pair of dress up cowboy boot type boots. So yeah.
Well, in Australia, we pretty much wear thongs. And then if I'm going out, I'll put my ankle boots on. I've got 3 pairs of ankle boots. So I've got color variety.
I'll get to the thongs in the next question. Next 2 questions. So my next question, all right, this is an American thing, I'm sure, but you guys got it down there. The toilet paper, does it go over on the roll or under?
Oh, we just had this debate in my social group. It definitely has to go over. Yeah. No doubt about it. And if it's wrong, I will actually change it on people. That's how strongly I feel about the over. My ex-husband and I had a secret game we never spoke about, that we would turn it around on each other. Yeah. And every time I went to the loo, it would be the wrong way around. And it was a bit of a giggle because we never ever spoke about it. But yeah, I'm a big over.
That question has been the key question is make fun on my podcast for 2 years now. And some of the best ones I've had. So, most of them, it's like I have these people who are all peace, love, and rainbows. And you ask that question and fangs come out, right? It's like,
have you polled it? Have you taken note of the A versus B?
Yeah. But the best answer, by far, the best answer was this girl, Cammie, who was on here probably about a year and a half ago. Single girl from New Hampshire here in America. And she said, hey, I'm a single girl. If I go to a guy's house and I'm dating him, and that toilet paper is under, and I switched to over, the third time I switched to over, I break up with him. This relationship is going nowhere.
Without talking to him about it? I feel like that's a bit rough.
She's another person. I've never met her in person, but I quote her all the time. It's like, oh my God, she's so much fun. So,
Uh,
so my last question. All right. Now, and again, you know what I mean? You said thongs as in the thongs you wear in your feet. We here in America think of thongs as a different thing. So, but I have boxers or briefs.
okay. Well, over
Or
here,
thongs.
I'm probably going to lean towards boxer because over here, the girl version of that is like a boy leg underwear as opposed to the thong / G-string underwear. That's completely uncomfortable and I am not doing it to myself anymore. So I'm going to go with boxer on that one.
See, it's not that bad, Kathy. So I had a gentleman on probably about 2 weeks ago, and we had we spent the last 10 minutes of the podcast answering that question. The two of us were comparing our underwear to each other. Comparing underwear with each other on a podcast. Yeah. Only on my podcast would that happen. Yeah.
Were there visuals, Tim?
No, we didn't get up and show you girls. I know you girls want to see what we have on, but you know, we behaved.
Well done. Such restraint.
But I have a friend here in America. She's in Denver, and she does a live stream every Friday night. And if you get on the live stream as a guest, one of the things she goes is her one question is, "Show me your bottoms." Like, she will not let you off until you stand up and show her what you have on. So you better have pants on when you get on her podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we had a radio station here in Australia a few years back that used to have No Undie Monday. I thought it was brilliant. No Undie Monday.
So I know we're a little bit over time, but you know, back in the 1990s, I worked promotions with a radio station in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we did that they couldn't find somebody to do it. So like I was always I was not an employee. I was like a off person that did come in and did promos as the bizarre guy. And one of the promos they did was they wanted they wanted guys to come on air and shave their entire body. Now you could not have to shave your head. You'd shave your body, all hair. So you had to stand there. Basically, they put a tarp and you had to stand with an electric razor and shave yourself live while they were broadcasting this live on the radio station. I did it. I didn't care. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's those fun things you do in life. Anyway.
Yeah.
One more time. All right, Kathy, tell them where they can find you on the internet because they want to laugh with you more than after this podcast. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Please do come check out my website, baldwarrior.net. You can send me a message on there. You can find out about the 100 Faces of Alopecia book you can be in if you want to. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Bald Warrior. That's where I'm at pretty much everywhere. So I'm not hard to find, and I'd love to hear from you guys.
Cool. Well, I thank you for being on here today, Kathy. It has been a joy getting to know you live while recording this as a podcast, and I hope we get to see each other again because you were just so much fun.
Thanks so much, Tim. It's my honor and privilege to come on your show and spread the word of my journey with Americans more. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I'd love to come back one day.
You can, by the way. You can come back. I'd love to have you back. So
awesome.
Yeah. So to you, the listener, I want to thank you guys today for tuning in. All right. I'm Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show. Please go to baldwarrior.net and check out Kathy. All right. Find out more about what she does. See the book project she's doing. See all kinds of things that she's got going on, and even tune into her podcast because really it's about getting to know the coolest people on the planet. I am Tim Gillette, and this is my show, and I am going to interview somebody else real cool real soon. So stay tuned in by subscribing to our podcast, wherever you get your podcast, and subscribing to our YouTube channel. Until then, I'll see you next time with another great show. Have a great day, guys. Go